Hi, welcome to another edition of our video mailbox. This week we have two issues that have been a lot of concern, that have generated a lot of concern on people's minds in recent months. For example, Dwayne from Perryton writes, "I was told that our Border Patrol office in Amarillo will be deactivated. This can't happen. We need this office and the agents that serve the Panhandle of Texas. Our jail populations will explode if this happens, primarily because the agents won't be coming to pick up illegals from the jails. Can you help?" Well, Dwayne, actually this is an issue I've been working on since last summer. It was last July when the Border Patrol first announced that they were going to close several offices, including about 6 across Texas. And when we started asking them questions about, okay, what's your backup plan, they didn't really have one. And so we were able to work with other Texas House and Senate members to prevent them from closing the Border Patrol offices as they had scheduled. And as a matter of fact, in the continuing resolution government funding bill that just passed Congress and was signed into law by the President, it explicitly says that they cannot close these offices. Now, we still have a lot of work to do. We need to continue to work to see that there are the backups at the federal level for our local law enforcement folks. And that's really where these interior Border Patrol offices are so important. Some of the best meetings I've had on this issue have been with local sheriffs in our neck of the woods all across the district, talking about this interaction between the Border Patrol people and their offices and other local law enforcement. This is an issue we're going to stay on top of, but the bottom line is we have to be able to enforce our laws, and the federal government has got to be there to back up our local law enforcement. Another issue that I hear a lot about comes from Michael in Hereford. He writes, "What's your stance on the Lesser Prairie-Chicken? Are the hearings on the prairie-chicken all for show, or do you think the Fish and Wildlife Service has already made a decision?" Well, as many of you may know, the Fish and Wildlife Service has started a study to look at the Lesser Prairie-Chicken and decide whether to list it as an endangered species. As with a lot of these cases, you get lawsuits that push the Fish and Wildlife Service into beginning this study, and that's part of what happened here. I don't think that they've made up their mind. What we've tried to work on, along with other people from Texas and New Mexico and the surrounding region, is to make sure that as much input as possible went into the Fish and Wildlife Service. So there's been public hearings, a number of us in Congress have been writing letters, and some other good work has happened. So the decision is supposed to come roughly in September, although it could be delayed. One of the great things that's going on, though, is the state of Texas, along with other states, have been working on a voluntary plan to protect wildlife for these chickens. And the hope is that if there's enough effort on the voluntary side, the government does not have to come in and do these mandatory restrictions of what we can do with our property. The oil and gas folks are also doing some voluntary sort of habitat protection. And the hope is that these combined efforts will be enough to keep it off the endangered list. As the Fish and Wildlife Service studies this issue, it can list this chicken as endangered, it can list it as threatened, or it can not list it at all. The worst is to list it as endangered because that puts severe restrictions on what people can do with the land. Whether you're in energy production or agriculture, it could make a big difference to the economy of our area. So I'm hopeful that with the input of lots of folks from our area, lots of work around several states, that we can at least prevent this from being listed as endangered. That's all for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.